Hello everybody, I'm Brooks Page and welcome to Money Talks. Today we have on our show Christy Dwyer and Aaron Dwyer, and they are with Exit Realty. Welcome to our show.
Thanks, Brooks. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having us.
Now, there's a lot of, Christy, I've known you a long time. You've been in the real estate business forever. I've always called you the spunky one, the one with all the energy.
Well, it's not the worst thing I've been called, so.
Well, I hear you. So anyway, I know there's a lot of changes in Exit Realty, and you got a lot of stuff you need to tell us. So tell us about what's going on at Exit Realty right now, and then we'll get into some other stuff here.
All right. Well, yeah, there is a lot going on, a lot. So we have, actually this week, August 2nd, Monday of this week, marked our 15-year anniversary of having our office open here in Hartwell.
Oh, yeah.
So that is a huge milestone for us as a company. We started here in 2006, and we now have 5 offices in Georgia, and we have 1 in Tennessee outside of Nashville.
Now tell me the Tennessee connection. How did you get involved in Tennessee?
So I'm a native of Nashville. Yep, I was born and raised in
Aaron.
Yep.
Aaron got you there.
I was born and raised in Nashville, and I'm actually a Tennessee broker.
Okay.
So I'm the broker of our Tennessee office, and of course, Christy's our broker here in Georgia.
Okay, so tell me how many total offices you have?
6 right now.
6 right now, okay. And how many agents do you have? Too many to
64.
count?
We have 64.
64? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
Actually pretty amazing. So we just ran some numbers the other day, and 2 years ago this time we had 8 agents.
Oh, okay.
Now we have 64.
Oh, good.
So it's some really big things happening.
So everybody knows this, but Hartwell and every place about across the country is having a hard time meeting the supply and demand of houses.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit about it in our area, in your area up there, and what can be done about it.
You want me to go? You want to go?
Yeah, I'll take this. I'll start. I think what we're seeing right now, and it really is across the country. Now I've got some statistics that'll show you that it's not just here in Hartwell, but it's just about every location that there is. We since 2008, we've been in a housing glut. We've had a big deficit of available houses for people who want the houses. And of course, that was a result of all the things that happened in 2008 and new builders kind of stopping and spec homes stopping and all those things. And so we've really struggled to meet the demand since 2008.
Right.
And now when you add into that we have a millennial generation who is now the largest segment of home buyers that we've had since the baby boomers, it's really caused the perfect storm where we don't have enough houses for the demand.
Which is driving prices up.
Certainly has an influence in it.
Certainly has an influence on it.
And then even if you can't buy a house, the rental houses are, the rental houses, rent's high.
If you can find it.
Yeah,
you can't even find rental homes.
That's right. So
we're seeing in Nashville, people come in and literally it's almost a buy and lease type. They're building new construction homes for the sole purpose of renting them out.
Right.
Because there's such a demand for rentals.
Yeah. Okay. So in Hartwell, it's kind of a catch-22. You want growth because you got to meet the demands of the housing market.
Right. So
we want more houses, but then again, we don't want to overdo it and overkill. So what's the solution to this? What do we need to do to? You got builders that want to come in here and maybe spec house and do some spec houses, do a subdivision, that kind of thing.
Wow, you just teed yourself up on the high dive and went straight into that one, didn't you?
I did.
But I think it goes a little further back than that, because I think Hartwell's not really any different than any other community that's starting to grow past what it was. Yeah.
Right.
And now that you have industry coming here, and Hartwell's always been a place that people would come to hang out and be on the lake. Now it's becoming a place where they want to live.
Right.
And so now you have the catch-22 that you want to have the industry here, you want to have the economy here, you want those dollars flowing in here.
Right.
But when all these people come here, where are they going to live?
Right.
So that's where the catch-22 for me is.
Right.
Is how do you balance wanting the growth, wanting the dollars, wanting the income to the community? How do you balance that with growth?
That's right.
And I think that's...
Right. Well, and just to back up a little bit, because what we've seen, so if you were to rewind to the fall of 2019, before the pandemic, before the shutdowns, before all of that was going on, there was already inventory shortage. Because like you said, the millennials, this is what started back in 2008, 2009, when all the development, the people were going out trying to develop. That demand and that need was already, people knew it was going to be there. The attempts to put the inventory in place and to put the infrastructure in place to put the developments. I mean, how many developments do you drive around and see 3 years ago empty that started back in 06, 07 and then just went belly up?
Right.
And then finally people started coming back in and they're building again, and we're seeing that boom in the housing industry.
Right.
But so to kind of go back to where our office locations are. So where our offices are, and I want to relate that to, we're not just seeing this in Hartwell, which is a small town with a lake here. All of our offices are in areas just like that. Our focus and our niche is being in a smaller community that has lake as a draw, okay? So we've got here, obviously. We're in Madison, which touches the upper end of Lake Oconee. We're in Lake Oconee. We're at Greensboro. We're down at Lake Sinclair and Milledgeville, which are all small communities. A lot of the bigger part of those counties is agricultural. Their main income source for their county is agricultural, and we're seeing this happen all over the place. So when the pandemic happened last year, we were already riding out an inventory shortage, and then everybody was stuck at home for 3 months, and then everybody realized I can work from home. I don't have to drive 45 minutes to Greenville or Atlanta or somewhere else to work. Anderson, even coming from here, we don't have to do that now. We can work from home, and a lot of companies are realizing, I mean, there's companies that are shutting down their offices left and right, big companies, because their productivity with their agents, their efficiencies have increased so dramatically when their people were working from home. Now, there's a lot of companies that are still letting people come in, but a lot of them are still making it optional. You know, if you want to come in, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. So a lot of people have really adjusted their work schedules to where they're working from home 2 or 3 days a week and going into the office a couple of days a week. So then when that happened, they realized our current home doesn't work for us anymore. We need a home office. You know, we can be sitting at the dining room table and the dogs are barking and the kids are running up and down the stairs or whatever. So people realize we need to change. So then they're like, okay, we'll put our house on the market, but we're scared to do that because where are we going to go? So that has really exasperated the inventory shortage that we're seeing, that we were seeing in the fall of 2019. It was already in a roaring inventory shortage.
Yeah, and if you ever go to Greenville, a place like that, it's like booming. It blows your mind. If y'all
Crazy booming. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing the developments, even in Hartwell. I mean, everywhere we're at, we're seeing as soon as they pretty much get the house almost to the point of being dried in, they're under contract.
That's right.
And people are buying them. So it's not, we're not seeing and right now what we're seeing is builders for new construction, again, in other areas, and I'm certain it's happening here in Hartwell too, they've got a shortage of, they can't get dimmer switches, they can't get windows, they can't get
drywall mud.
There's things that there's a shortage of, and they're not even doing pre-sales. They're not giving a commitment date of when they're going to be ready to close on it, when it'll be done, until they get to a certain point in that process. Because not only do we can't put the house up, and we don't want shoddy construction, we want them to be built well, but the builders are at the mercy of some of the suppliers, which can't get everything that they need to finish these houses.
Okay. So we know Hartwell's got a shortage like other places. So what keeps these developers coming into the county, for example, and we don't have a building inspector in the county, do we? Or
Not currently, we don't.
So what would keep somebody, one of these builders coming in and buying some property and just specking and putting in a subdivision and building a low quality house, if I may say, and filling them up with that and having, just to make a big profit like they all a lot of contractors want to do. And nothing wrong with that, but because they want to come in here, make $1, leave, go to another county, but and having no building inspector makes it easy on them, doesn't it?
Well,
am I going about that wrong?
I mean, I think if somebody had ill intentions, they could do that. But for the most part, money is what would stop them from doing that. Because most of the people who are, they're not going to have the money to fund that type of construction if they do junky work. I mean, they're just not. Banks are going to have to be financing them, and they're not going to be able to.
Well, they cut corners to make their.
I think even the most high-end builders, you might get a sub that's going to cut corners.
I think that I think the question is, to answer your question, is that possible? Yes.
Absolutely.
However, even in Hart County, Putnam County, some of these counties that we're in, you do have environmental resources in those counties to make sure that they start off on the right plot of land. You've got people that look over those plats and those subdivisions and things like that to make sure that they're done correctly. However, at the end of the day, a builder's got to pay for materials. Those materials, then they're going to make a profit on those materials. That's why they're in business. That's why they build homes. I mean, they're not doing it just for charity.
Right.
They
It's
want
not
to make
a habitat
money.
build.
But even in large production builders, where, let's just use Nashville as an example, where they have an entire division of inspectors, and they inspect everything from the dirt to the foundation to the framing to every piece of that. Somebody comes and looks at every single part of that process. Those builders still get away with sometimes cutting corners and doing shoddy work and doing things to try to get past that home inspector, to get past that inspection process, to get the product to the closing table.
Yeah, which Hart County does not have.
Correct.
So
There's
it would
this,
benefit us to have one, to get higher quality houses.
I do believe that there is a benefit. So because I think your question has got a couple of different tiers to that answer. A lot of the builders that we're seeing coming in here and building homes are not from Hart County.
Right.
Their primary, where they started building homes, are in like Gwinnett County. They are in Clark County. They are in counties that do have building inspectors. So they're bringing a lot of their subs here. I mean, their subs are coming from their areas because they know them. These are the people that they've already got relationships with. So these people are used to building a home in an area that does have a building inspector. Do you need to get that?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So
As long as Wes, you good?
Are we good?
Wes,
So-
you good?
So they're used to building a home that's being inspected by a building inspector in those areas that do have all these requirements.
Yeah.
So to me, the scarier part is getting somebody that's not been building houses in these areas to come in and think, oh, I can build a house. I can come in here and make $1, and I'll just sub all this stuff out. I've watched it on.
Does the county require a builder to have a license, or do you know?
So, to my knowledge, and I may be wrong on this, so don't. This is not the gospel truth here, but in Hart County, in the county, you do not have to be a general contractor to build the homes. You can sub it all. You can sub it out. In the city, I think there's some different rules.
There's some, there are.
So, but in the county, like I do know people who hire people to sub out the work for them who are not general contractors. Now, whether or not that was supposed to have been done or not, I don't know. But I mean, I'm not the person on those ordinances. But
Yeah.
but
So
I do not believe there is the
I
requirement.
could go out in the county, and I know, just a little bit about the building from banking, but not a lot. Or anybody could go out in the county right now and say, I believe I'll build a house here, and I'll sub it all out and just build it myself.
Absolutely.
Can you do
Yeah.
I
that?
think so.
Yeah, they absolutely can.
Okay. So,
But then my question would be, what would prevent that person from building that house, staying in it for 12 months, and then selling it to the next person?
Right.
And then doing that over and over and over
we
again.
just speculate.
Which is
Well, no,
almost,
that's 'cause
it's
they're
not
building
spec
for their own
building.
use and they're
That's
gonna live in
flipping.
it.
So that's
Yeah.
that's considered flipping,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So that's not spec building. So that person has a little bit of money on the line
Right.
and have one house on the line. Then they sell it, take that profit, and go build another one.
Right.
But every time they build it over and over and over again, they do the same shoddy construction. We're going to use that word.
Yeah.
Then the buyer who buys that house ultimately is still in jeopardy.
Yeah, and I'm not saying
Which is-
everybody, all the builders that move in here and build houses and subdivisions or do shot. Don't get me wrong, I'm not doing shoddy work.
No, and we're not saying
Absolutely
that at
not.
all. I'm not
I'm
saying
not
that
saying
at
that
all.
at all. You got some good quality builders, but so I can see some of them coming in and saying, "Well, we don't have any codes in the county, or we don't have any restrictions in the county. I can do what I want, pretty much."
And that's a true statement, yeah.
Just so I can make a higher profit
Right.
margin.
And some of the things that I am seeing that, I mean, again, managed growth, and I don't know, I'm sure you have seen so managed growth is the only real way to be able to sustain growth. You've got to be able to manage it.
Yeah.
And I am wholeheartedly in agreement with managing the growth of the housing industry, because what you don't want is a bunch of houses that end up, I mean, there's a development over off of Ridge Road that they went in and put a little rode in, and there was 2 or 3 houses that got built in there, and it sat there for 10 or 12 years. And one of those houses has been through foreclosure. It gets sold, it gets bought at foreclosure, and that person gets foreclosed, and then it gets bought. It's like a cycle of these same few houses, because those were really crummy construction houses.
Right.
So we've seen it happen. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want to see that come in here, because one thing you asked a while ago, what brings them to Hartwell? And I'll tell you what brings them to Hartwell. It's the town. It's the feel. It's the community. It's these people who had a second home, moved up here, bought a house on the lake, lived in Atlanta, lived in Gwinnett County. This was their second home. They got to Hartwell. They loved the community. Right. They loved everything about it. So then they wanted to make this home, and then they're builders, and they want to come in here and be able to improve and give this experience to other people and make it able. We've got Purina in here. We've got a lot of people who have the ability to buy homes, and if you can buy a home, you don't necessarily want to rent.
Right.
And so the growth is happening, and the growth in the industry is happening in Hartwell, which is going to bring in more residents. Yeah. It's bringing in the need, and it's increasing the demand for more residents and for more homes, for more housing, period, whether it's rental housing, whether it's first-time home buyers, whether it's spec, whether it's custom builds. I mean, you're in banking for what, 87, 80, 95 years, something like that?
Yeah.
Something like that.
105.
So, 105. So, it's hard to get a construction loan.
Yeah.
A construction loan, you've got 2 closings, you got to have 20% down.
Right.
You got to do people aren't doing a custom build.
Right.
So the spec market allows a buyer to be able to get a brand new home, do FHA, USDA, use a VA loan on it.
Without going through
without having to go through the whole process of putting 20% down, then having to wait, is it going to appraise once the construction's done? I mean, that whole process is completely different.
I think that's why you see a lot of subdivisions in Hartwell that have been here for a long time, and they have only 2 or 3 houses in them, and a ton of lots still not.
Because the builders that came in here to do that, and this is something else too that I think is really important to note. Somebody who goes in and develops a development and puts the infrastructure in and gets it ready for a builder to come in, and then the actual person who builds the houses, 2 completely different lanes. 2 completely different people, 2 different species of people who contribute to the housing industry.
Most builders don't want to develop.
They don't want to develop. They just want somebody else to go out there, go through all the paperwork, go through all the red tape of getting the soil test done and laying it out and bringing Aaron Blomberg in to do the layouts of how are we going to do that, get the roads put in, get all that. When you have lots that are approved and ready for me to build on, call me. And I'll come in and I'll buy 7 or 8 of those lots, and I'm going to build the houses. Because that's what they do. Because if you expect a builder to go in and do all that stuff and also build the houses on it, that's tough for somebody to do. Because that's going to drive up the price of housing. Because their time is worth a lot more focusing on overseeing the construction.
Right.
And I think that's a big piece to segue into the affordability of homes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another piece to balance, especially in a Hart County, in a Morgan County, in some of these rural counties. That's a piece that you have to balance, because I don't know what the median income is in Hart County, but I would say that if we get home prices where your kind of entry level home price is $250,000 to $300,000, that prices a lot of folks in Hart County out of buying a home.
Right.
Because they can't afford to buy that $250,000 starter home, $300,000 starter home. So then you're back to that rental market, which then they take advantage of the folks that can't buy the home, and so they start raising their rents up. I just got a phone call yesterday from a guy who said, I don't want to rent anymore. They just raised my rent to $2,500 a month. I don't want to rent anymore.
Right.
So you have that same issue then that comes into play when you start to bump up the price of the housing. You end up hurting the people that need the house the most, quite honestly.
Right. I mean, there's so many factors that play in.
Yeah, let's talk about a little stuff the county is looking at doing. I know they got a 180-day moratorium on some of that stuff, but they're looking at some stuff that may be good for the county on controlling growth and that kind of thing.
Right.
Tell me, as far as a realtor's view, what going from a half acre to an acre would hurt or help, as far as on the lake, or even some of these spec builders coming in and building on the 1/2 acre lots compared to the acre lot. How would that affect them? And I know it's just a they're just going to be talking about it from there. It's just, and you're grandfathered in too, by the way, so you don't have to worry about that. If you already have it already subdivided in half-acre lots, you don't have to worry about that. But what's the effect? What do you think effect that would have?
So again, I think it's a loaded question. I think that managed growth is absolutely necessary to sustain growth. The half-acre to 1 acre thing, I don't really know that I don't know that there's a magic number. And at the meeting the other night, last week, I actually asked the question, what makes 1 acre the magic number? Because the requirements from a half acre to 1 acre, the half acre, where that comes in, the actual rule is not necessarily a half acre lot. It has to be a half acre of usable soil for the purposes of the septic system, which is putting in the system, putting in the lines, a recovery area, repair area. That's a state requirement. So they could change it from half acre to 5 acres, and it's not going to change the state requirement of half acre of usable soil. Because so my understanding is that the current rule in the county is that it's the minimum required by the health departments, and the state guidelines set this. Okay? So if you go from a half acre to 1 acre, and the magic number now is they've just got to be able to get 1 acre in there of land on this lot. You might have a lot that is still no wider from the road and no wider off the road than what that half acre would have been. And then they come around here and they curl around and they do something to say, okay, I've got a 1 acre lot now. Approve me. There's nothing that would change that. Whereas the concerns that are being brought up in that meeting were if the houses are too close to the road, okay? Changing it from a half acre to a 1 acre and not changing the setbacks off the road isn't going to change anything. Because somebody can still come in and build the house exactly where they would have built it on that half acre lot, up close to the road, and just because they have an extra half acre at the back of the property, it's not changing anything. Yeah. And that's why I actually asked a question, because I was at that meeting last week. What makes 1 acre the magic number? And
can't they change the setback rule?
I mean, they could, but that's not what they put a moratorium on. They put a moratorium on anything less than 1 acre. They didn't put a moratorium on, which I would have been probably, and I'm not in support of the 1 acre. I'm in support of adequate lot sizes. I'm not in support of some arbitrary number that we just pull out of the air to keep people from coming in, because changing it from a half acre, because a half acre could be done as long as you have a half acre of usable soil outside of, everything. You've got to have a half acre outside of right-of-ways, outside of all that. That half acre is typically, unless you had an ideal lot with ideal soils, it's not half acre anyways. Yeah. It's probably 0.67, 0.75, 0.85. It's probably between half an acre. The minimum is 1/2 acre, because that's what the state requires. But I feel like by mandating 1 full acre, what you're doing is you're now increasing straight out of the gate the cost of housing, because the builder now has to pay more to acquire a 1 acre lot to build that exact same house on than they would have had to pay, because they could get more lots and they could provide more housing. I mean, I grew up in Florida. Those houses are on 0.2 acre lots. The first home I ever bought.
Next to each other.
Right next to each other.
Right next to each other. You almost can't get a lawnmower with a 60-foot blade on it. You almost cannot get it between the houses.
Does it increase the value of a house if it's on 1 acre compared to being stacked?
It all depends on who
there are a lot of factors in that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of factors in that, because then I think if this were just a laboratory setting and you were to say 1 acre better than half acre, I think the only thing that a 1 acre potentially could do in a very clean environment would be control density, right? You wouldn't have as many houses in a particular area.
Right.
But when you're looking at septic systems and how the soils lay out, there's no way to know where the soil field's going to be, where the repair field's going to be on an acre or a half acre. Right. So then that changes how the layout of the lots, like she's saying. Your half acre could be, you might need 0.8. Right. You might need an acre to make that house work on that particular lot. So changing it from a density standpoint, I think that probably does take care of that. From some of the other things that were raised at the meeting, I don't think that really has anything to do with any of those things that were raised at the meeting.
Yeah.
It doesn't help any of those things.
Yeah.
Because 40-foot setback on an acre lot, and you still have the same problem.
Yeah.
right?
I know one of the commissioners was talking about half acres, if you buy them, they might not perk, but I was thinking to myself, before you buy the property, you would check that, wouldn't you?
That's done way
100%.
before.
It's got to perk in order to get a septic tank. I mean,
Yeah. You
so
can't get
most of
approved
the
for
time,
septic.
people aren't coming out here and subdividing. And again, I mean, I don't remember which commissioner it was that said that. I don't recall who said it. I don't know that I even heard him say it. But the half acre, if they say they buy a half acre lot and it might not perk, well, if it doesn't perk, it's not getting a septic permit. A house isn't going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not.
So
It's not
they
even usable.
don't buy it.
So you don't buy. There's not going to be a house on there.
And or
it
that
doesn't even get approved as a lot.
or that half acre gets attached to the lots beside it, and then it becomes extra
Yeah.
lot, extra acreage for them.
Extra yard.
What I'm saying is the buyer checks it out before he buys it. You don't buy a piece of property and say, I hope that property will perk.
No, heavens no.
No.
If it's an approved subdivision, though, all that's done before the
Yeah.
county ever approves a subdivision.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a process. I mean, the person identifies the land, they bring a soil scientist out, they perk the property at various places, they get an entire soil map of the entire property, and then they take it to someone like Aaron with Smith Development, which is who he's with now. Then they lay it out, looking at the soils, and they work out this is where the roads can go. These are the setback. This is how big the lot's going to be, and then that goes to Lily at the county. She looks at it and signs off on it, and then it goes to the county to be approved
Yeah.
as a subdivision. Okay. Now somebody could go in and buy just a random unrestricted half acre lot somewhere in the county, and it didn't have to go through all that process. But yes, they would be not very wise. It could be a 5 acre tract of land.
Right.
And that 5 acre tract of land might not even have a half acre of usable soil on it for a septic system,
Right,
in which case they can't build a house on it.
right.
So honestly, a lot of the issues they talked about that were the septic issues, that's really, if that's an issue, it's because they're not following the proper process.
Right. Okay.
All the state requires certain things be done, and there's approvals that have to go through in the county to ensure that it's a buildable lot.
Right.
So whether it's a 1 acre lot, a 5 acre lot, or a half acre lot, it's got to have a minimum of a half acre of usable soil in order to
Okay.
be approved.
All right.
I truly believe the building inspector is a great first start.
do.
I think controlling growth, managed growth, is a fantastic thing. But I think it has to be done from the time the soils are approved, the time the subdivision's approved, the time the footers are poured. All that's got to be watched through the entire process.
Right.
And I think the building inspector is a step in the right direction.
Right.
I think that's certainly a step in the right direction. I think a 6-month stop to any new subdivisions, I think that creates a bubble.
Well, it's not a 6 month stop to new subdivision. It's 6 month stop to anything
Less than an
less than 1 acre lots, right?
I think I think just from our conversations, you may see a little bubble. And some of these folks who were here and interested in Hartwell, interested in Hart County doing some things, may go to Elbert County, may go to Clark County, may go to some other counties and start to put their things there, which then takes away from the folks coming to Hart County. So I think those conversations are happening right now.
Okay. Well, Wes has given me the signal for
a break?
showed us for a break. I think
Okay.
we got enough information to continue to another show.
Okay?
That'd be, we'd love to.
So,
yeah.
Christy and Aaron, I want to thank you for being on part 1. And
Thank you.
before we leave, though, I want you to give my viewers your contact information and your website and all that
Okay.
good stuff in case they want to call you and do some business with
All
you.
right.
good.
Well, we appreciate that. So again, I'm Christy Dwyer, and this is Aaron Dwyer.
Aaron Dwyer.
And we are the owners of Exit Realty Lake Country. And we do, again, have an office here in Hartwell that we are celebrating our 15 years being here. And our office number is 706-377-3948. And our website is sellingthelakecountry.com or exitrealtylakecountry.com.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank both of them again for being on the show. Viewers, thank you for watching Money Talks, and I will see you next time. Wes Bailey, thank you. Hart Phone Company, thank you. And I'll see you next time on part 2 of Money Talks.